Hi everyone, in this video I will be showing you how to crochet this elf pillow. If you would like the written pattern, I will link that down below. For the materials, I'm using a worsted weight acrylic yarn in green, red, white, and gold, a 14-inch by 14-inch pillow form, a 6.0 millimeter crochet hook, tapestry needle, and scissors. So to begin, we are going to start with white. And I am making a very small sample, so I'm going to give you the stitch counts, but mine will be smaller than what yours will be because I actually already finished my panels. So you will want to start with a chain of 44. Once you have your 44 chains, go ahead and make a half double crochet into the third chain from the hook. And then we are going to make half double crochets all the way down the chain. So once you're finished, you should have a total of 42 half double crochets in your first row. Once you get to the end, we will change to red. So I'm just gonna snip off my white, leave about 4 inches, get my red, and I'm just gonna pull it through my loop, tighten the white loop, and then I'm actually going to tie these two tail ends together, the white and the red tail. I'm just gonna do one knot, chain one, turn my work, and I am going to work over these tails so I won't have to weave them in later. So I'm just gonna lay them over top of my stitches. And then in this row, we're also going to make half double crochets all the way across, starting in that very first stitch. And then one half double crochet in each stitch across. And we are going to do this for a total of 6 rows. We will be changing color after each row. So after this row, we'll change to white, and then after that, we'll change to red. And then after 6 rows, you should end with the red color. And it's just half double crochets all the way across. So go ahead and do that for 6 rows, just half double crochets all the way across, changing color after each row. This is what it should be looking like after 6 rows, but of course yours will be a lot wider, and it should measure about 13.5 to 14 inches. Now we are going to add the green. So here, this is like the elf's leggings, and then now we are going to start adding the green for the body. So I'm just gonna add my green, just how I added the colors down below. Make a single knot on the side. We're gonna chain up 2 and then turn our work. I would normally crochet over these tails, but I want to make sure you guys can see the next row that I'm doing. So here we have a chain 2. In the very first stitch, we are going to make a double crochet, and then in the next stitch, a single crochet. And that is the pattern we're going to follow all the way across. So double crochet and then single crochet. So go ahead and continue to double crochet and single crochet all the way across the row. You should end up with a single crochet in the very last stitch, And then we're just going to repeat this row for a total of 31 times. So again, in the beginning, you chain 2, start with your double crochet, and then make a single crochet, and then alternate double and single crochets all the way down the row, and you'll want a total of 31 rows of just the green, and that will complete the panel. So once you have your panel done, it should look something like this, and you want to make 2 panels, one for the front and one for the back. And then for the front, we are going to make a collar and some buttons for the body of the elf. So next, we're going to make the collar. For the collar, I'm going to be using red yarn and the same 6.0 millimeter hook. We are going to start with a slip knot and chain 43. Once you have 43 chains, you will make a single crochet into the second chain from the hook. And we're just going to single crochet all the way down the chain. So just one single crochet for each chain across. Once we are at the end of row 1, we're going to do the same thing for the next row. So chain up 1, turn your work, and we are going to make 1 single crochet in each stitch across, starting in the very first stitch, because our first chain will not count as a stitch. So we're just single crocheting in each stitch, 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way down the row for row 2. Here we are at the end of row 2, so we have 2 rows of single crochets. Now we are going to start to make the triangles of the collar. So chain 1, turn your work. Over the first 2 stitches, we are going to half double crochet 2 together. So start by yarning over, insert your hook into the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert your hook into the second stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. You will have 5 loops total on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 5. And that is a half double crochet 2 together. Now we're going to make half double crochets into the next 10 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then we're going to do another half double crochet 2 together. Yarn over, insert your hook into the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert your hook into the second stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through all 5 loops. Now we're going to chain 1 and turn our work so we can continue working on our first triangle. So we're going to do the same thing that we just did in that last row. We're going to half double crochet 2 together over the first 2. And then we're going to half double crochet until we have 2 stitches left at the end, because we will make the half double crochet 2 together at the end. So if you are keeping count, there will be 8 half double crochets that we will be doing before we get to the last 2 stitches. So here's our last 2 stitches. We're going to do half double crochet, 2 together, chain 1, chain 1, turn, and we're going to repeat this until we only have 2 stitches left. So again, half double crochet, 2 together. And then in this row, we'll have 6 half double crochets before we get to our last 2 stitches. So each row it's going to decrease by 2. The amount of half double crochets in between our decreases, our half double crochets 2 together. So here's our last 2 stitches. Half double crochet 2 together, chain 1, turn our work, half double crochet 2 together, and then in this row we'll have 4 stitches, and then here's the last 2. Half double crochet 2 together. We're getting close to the end. Half double crochet 2 together. We're gonna have 2 half double crochets. And then here's our last 2. Half double crochet 2 together. Chain 1, turn our work. Here are 4 stitches left, so we are going to do half double crochet 2 together 2 times, and that will be our last row. So then here we can chain 1 and fasten off. And that makes our first little piece of the collar. And each triangle, when you first start it, it's a span of 14 stitches. So we're going to find, we already worked in this one here, so we're going to go to the next one, next stitch over, and join our yarn there. Chain 1. So here we joined our yarn there, and we are going to work in that place first where we joined. So we are going to start with a half double crochet 2 together. So then we're going to do 10 half double crochets, and then a half double crochet 2 together, and then just continue to do what we did here for the first triangle, and then after we finish that one, also make the third triangle in the remaining 14 stitches. Next, we're going to crochet the buttons. I'm using this gold color. You start with a magic ring, chain 1, and if you don't know how to do a magic ring, or if you have trouble making the magic ring, I do have a video tutorial how to make it, or you can just chain 2 and then everything I'm working into the magic ring, you work into that first chain. So I'm going to make 10 single crochets into the ring. And once you have your 10 single crochets, go ahead and join to the first single crochet, chain 1, and then make 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So the first round is 10 single crochets, and then the second round we're making 2 single crochets in each stitch, so we should end up with 20 stitches. Once you are at the end of the round, you will join to the first single crochet and then fasten off and leave a tail for sewing. So you want to make 2 buttons total. So once you have your collar and your buttons, you could go ahead and attach it to one of your panels. You could either sew it on, use fabric glue, or you could even do hot glue, like with a hot glue gun. I actually hot glued this down here, the collar. I did sew the buttons down because those were pretty easy, but this was kind of big and I wanted it to be perfect, and I'm not the best at keeping everything aligned when I'm sewing, so I just put hot glue around the edges. I've done this before with other projects and it does hold up pretty well, but the pieces that I hot glue are my decorative pieces. They're not used much, they're not thrown around. So if you are sewing the pieces on, I just use a running stitch, which means you take the yarn, the tail end, you use a tapestry needle and you just go back and forth with your stitches in and out. So you go behind the fabric and then you come back from the back and you run it up and down, which is the easiest way to sew anything on. So now that we have our front panel and our back panel finished, we are going to start crocheting them together and adding our pillow form. So I'm putting my panels together, the front facing out, and then the back panel is the same on both sides. So I'm just putting it in the back, and I am going to use the green color that I used for here. I'm just going to use it all the way around. If you want to, you can change colors down here. Maybe white, or if you really wanted to, you could change every other color here and then red for the top. It's up to you. I'm just gonna make it easy and do green all the way around. So to start crocheting them together, I like to start in the bottom right corner, so then once we go all the way around, my join will be at the bottom here. So I'm just gonna flip it around so I can start over here. And I'm just going to find the very first stitch. So this chain here, I'm going to go into the chain and then find the same spot in the second panel. And I'm going to join my yarn here. So I'm just gonna pull it through. And then I'm gonna leave all of this so I can crochet over it to make sure it's secure. So I'm just gonna chain 1, and in the very first stitch, I'm going to make 3 single crochets. And we are going to do this for each corner just so the border stays square. So 3 single crochets in that very first stitch. I try to keep a loose tension and just try to find the best spots to crochet into. So here we can see a big gap here, and we are going through both of the panels like this and over this tail end. So I'm just making single crochets for this border. And if you are really new to this, if this is the first time you're crocheting a border or edging or joining, after every few rows, just look back to see how it's looking. If it's really crinkled like this, that means you have too many stitches. If it's really pulling, then you don't have enough stitches. And you can easily just, take them out and try to either put more stitches in or less stitches in. Just try to do it as evenly as possible. So here we're at the green part and we see these little bumps from the side of the griddle stitch. So just make sure those are all lined up so you can make sure that you are crocheting the panels together evenly. And go back and look, make sure everything is even. So I'm just going to do that all the way down, and then do 3 single crochets and keep going all the way around. I'm just going to do 3 sides, and then that is when we can slip our pillow in the bottom and then join the rest. So here I have all 3 sides crocheted together. I'm going to stick my pillow form in here. It is a 14-inch pillow form, and then it does get a little finicky because you have to try to keep it closed while you're crocheting them together. And then once you get to the end, you just join to the first single crochet and then fasten off. I hope this video was helpful. I hope you learned something new today, and if you enjoy crochet tutorials, be sure to subscribe to my channel.